Well, hey everybody, and welcome to a new format for my channel. I thought it'd be fun to do some live streaming, maybe get to know some of you, talk to you face to face, and sort of face to your fingers texting, I guess is really what we're going to be doing. But I brought along a buddy of mine. This is Brent V. Brent, say hi to everybody.
Hey, so cleaned up. Hi, I'm Brent. Been a longtime photographer, video guy with Todd. We've been together how many years now, man?
Man, I mean, we've been working together for at least 15, on gigs.
Yeah, back and forth, video shoots together, tag team, helping out.
Yep.
You pick up my gear, I'll pick up your gear, set lights, so on and so forth. So all of that. But everything, Todd and your creative, more artistic side with your projects, and then my kind of more, I do a lot of sports related stuff, real estate, weddings, and things like that. Kind of your more traditional categories, I guess is the way to say it.
He's also a master at squeezing high dollar look out of a low budget rig. I love Brent always has jerry rigged something together when we show up on set. And that's a lot of what this series is going to be about too. Cause we see all these things on YouTube and people are like, oh man, I've got a this and I've got a that. And you're like, I don't know what world you're living in, but when you're like a real regular guy working, I can't buy all of the things.
Yeah.
It gets expensive.
Simplify. I have collected a lot over the years. I will say I'm not going to stay away from that, but yeah, customizing, kind of building out things to make it work for every situation. Definitely, I enjoy it.
Yeah, sometime we're gonna have to get pictures of your that battery rig you've got that you can power like a TV and everything else
that's like
on a rolling setup.
Battery rig, which one? Yeah.
That's an awesome setup.
Definitely.
So anyway, we already started off with the first hiccup, and this is the first time we've done this, so we're working our way through the kinks. So bear with us, everybody. Really excited to be able to do this with you and to have Brent along. Hopefully he'll be a regular, one of my regular sidekick on this program. But the show is called the Overcrank, because why not? Because trying to find, there's a lot of people who think they have clever, punny names for these types of streams, and it's really hard to find one that no one has right now. So
if you want to name it, if we're naming it Overcrank, should I overcrank my settings right now? So like the shutter's way off, so the f-stop is goofy and ISO is blown out.
Maybe not today.
All right, okay. We'll play it. We'll start that way next time, maybe.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
So anyway, today we have three things we want to talk about. And, if you get bored with part of this, well, this is the live stream, but once it's recorded, you could always fast forward through. We're going to talk about this amazing new GoPro drop. It's like a bomb on the industry right now, and I can't wait to learn more about it. We're going to talk about SSD and AI. And we're going to talk about what I alluded to earlier, looking for cheap ways to put your rig together. And I want to talk about this wave of Chinese lenses that sit in the market, and they're pretty amazing. So anyway, to kick things off, there's this one guy I follow on YouTube. It's called Camera Conspiracies. And he just said GoPro, I think it was like entered with violence with the drop of this new camera system. For like a couple of months now, people have been speculating, what is this camera going to be? Because the images they were showing, like of the moon and then of like a macro of a human eye and this detailed crazy shots, everybody's like, how in the world are they squeezing that out of a GoPro? Well, I think we know now. They cheated.
There, like looking back from GoPro's history of when that kind of got started and looking at the documentaries of like what those original GoPro cameras prototype styles look like to the first iteration, and I couldn't tell you, Todd, how many I've collected over the years. Collected, I feel like, is the word with how many there are. From I think Hero 2 is the first one I had officially, and then it just snowballed. So a couple of the 360s I've acquired too, and yeah, I've seen them all. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. So I was a GoPro guy too, early on, because again, this is a pretty capable camera system that you could almost throw at a brick wall, dunk it underwater. There's almost nothing you could do to damage it.
Yeah.
And to that end, like, real camera guys, like, I don't think they ever sold their GoPros because you beat them up so bad. You don't expect to get any money on eBay anyway, so you just hold on to them. You just hold on to them forever. But it's interesting. I didn't do it to follow the trend, but what people have been talking about is how GoPro, like, as a business, their stock kind of has been tanking because the problem was it was a good, the elemental problem was it's a solid product, right? And so the average consumer, out there, Timmy, who got one, from his parents to go on a ski trip, he doesn't need to upgrade every year. In fact, he might not upgrade for 5 years. It's not the iPhone model where, like, oh, I got to have the new one. I got to have it. Everybody's like, it's still good. It still works.
Yes, they do.
And so the problem they had was there was no innovation that was like, oh, I've got to have that one. It was like slight iterations.
Yeah.
And it was right when, I don't remember what year they came out, but when the DJI Osmo Action, the first one, doesn't even have a number on it, came out, I was like, well, this thing is extremely compelling, and I jumped on that one. I still have that one, and I just bought some new batteries for it just so I can use it as a toss around because the image quality is still great on it. It shot 2.7K then, which was crazy for an action cam. I think they already had that horizon lock thing going. I can't remember all the features, but it was like, this camera is doing a lot of stuff GoPro hasn't even thought about doing yet. And so I jumped on, I kind of quit being a GoPro guy as soon as that first Osmo came, or no, the action cam. First action cam came out. Yeah. And then for a long period of time, I kind of I did what everybody else did. I was like, it's something I use occasionally. And, Brent and I we'll do a video shoot, and for like one shot for the whole day, we're like, well, that'd be cool. And so we do that. But the latest iterations, and that's where I think this is what this is coming from GoPro. The latest iterations that came from DJI are ridiculous. 8K. I always forget the name of that what is it? Open gate.
Open gate, yeah.
8K open gate shooting.
Full sensor,
and so it's like, it's a full 3840 by 3840 image you get so that you can shoot for social or whatever you want all in one shot and reframe it any way you want, which is incredible.
Yeah.
It is now 8K, but I just use the 4K because, come on, how much file size, how much room do I have? Because we're going to get to that topic later.
How much crop do you really need these days? Yeah.
Exactly. But, then they created the wireless integration to their DJI mic system. So now, and you don't even need a receiver. You just have the mic connected to the camera. So that changed the world for me. There's this one YouTuber I was following, Tamara Gabriel, and she almost exclusively does all of her vlogging on action cams. And I was like, the footage looks really good. Like, I'm not hating with this.
So you chasing, with these action cam things. I'd say kind of as you evolve with video, you start paying more attention to how the frame rate looks and whether you're shooting 180, if anybody's watching actually knows what that means. I'm 24 frames a second, so I got my camera set to 50 right now for this capture. But with those GoPro cameras or DJI cameras, being able to control that shutter speed with ND filters was always kind of like the whole it's just one more thing. And I noticed that early on as far as does that shutter speed look flowy enough and consistent enough? But do you use ND filters?
Well, I do, and the variable ND on that works really good. The problem comes out in so you're walking and talking stuff.
Yeah.
When you're using that and you're using the 180 degree rule, the problem is the way it creates the image stabilization is a computational model, and so it works really good in all those cameras in that high frame rate because it's capturing the data and it knows where it is. When you do it in those low frame rates, you get that mushy stuff happening in the background.
Yes.
And that's why the Pocket 3 was made, I think. I mean, it handled, so now you're not worrying about digital stabilization. Now I can shoot 24p and 50 But you know, we'll get to that in a second. And you get crystal clear motion blur like you should. However, I have been shooting YouTube. I guess, you know, what I've been learning, at least in my research, is YouTube doesn't like 24. So everything you're shooting in 24p and uploading to YouTube, they're running it through a thing and making it 30.
Yeah.
And that's not so pretty.
That's
so
why like Marquez keeps swearing by that 30, and everybody's like, really 30? But like,
well, and that's the thing. The 180 degree rule, in my opinion, still applies. You just go 30, 60.
yeah.
And I sometimes shoot 60, 120. So it still looks good. You just have to remember that shutter rule.
Yeah.
But again, the Pocket 3. So I like them as I've said this in some of my other videos. I like them as a tool set. You know, you've got the action cam to put in the most dangerous situations that you would never put.
And
your $5,000.
I've never broken a GoPro or an action cam.
Yeah.
I just scratch a lens, or the batteries just overall die because of just time goes on. You replace the batteries, but
yeah.
I've never broken a GoPro, which blows my mind still.
We ran your GoPro through a CNC machine.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
A couple times. It works.
It worked great.
Like,
it came out, just wipe it off.
Yeah,
good to go.
Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing what it does handle, and even on the skiing and snowboarding side, like people landing on them, these things falling off and just tumble, sitting packed in snow and water and ice underwater, like slamming stuff against them, falling off of bikes.
Yeah,
like, I still haven't broken a GoPro, which, and I don't know, like you've got more of the DJI stuff, but like I'm curious if they have that same rugged toughness that like the GoPro bodies have always came along with.
Everything I've experienced is yes, but on our last shoot, I was too nervous because that camera was new to me. I was like, I don't want to put it in the CNC machine. Let's use the GoPro because we know it lived.
Yep. Yeah.
But they are very robust. So anyway, we went down a DJI path. Let's talk about this new release from GoPro.
Yeah.
So now what I've heard online, and you know, if I'm wrong, hit me up in the comments or whatever. But what I've heard online is that this is not the end of or an extension of the Hero series. This is its own thing, the GoPro Mission. Yeah. So there's 3 cameras in it. Brent, break down the 3 cameras.
Yeah, so the Mission series, Mission 1 series, which we'll kind of see if every new version, like the Heroes version, kind of becomes a new Mission 1, the base version, Mission 1 Pro, and then the Mission 1 Pro ILS, that interchangeable, which we'll definitely talk about that too.
We're definitely talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So out of those 3, there's your entry level basic one that we used to have with your generic Hero release, and then there's the silver in my mind as the Pro, and then like the new black now is the ILS. But that's just a little bit more of a custom configuration. To really go wild with.
So the one that's the one you get for your kid.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know the prices on these things because maybe you're just like, no, you're getting a 13, buddy. Well, we don't know the prices, but the one's like the one you get for your kid. The Pro is the one to me that is the most compelling as an actual use case. Yeah. You know, it's got all of the frame rates and the bit rates and the log color profile that I'm interested in. This interchangeable lens system, I think, is rife with challenges, but it's how they got those pictures. I think, you know, they totally cheated. They were using some sweet lenses that they were able to lock onto that body to get those
Artemis
pictures.
Stuff? You think?
Well, they got those.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The Artemis didn't have that then. Yeah. The Artemis was using the Nikon 9, I think.
Yeah, they had some older GoPro, I think, mounted outside.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Which whatever was pre-approved, but I mean, like, you know, the iterations of whatever that has to go through. But I mean, like this new version and the new Mission series, we'll call it.
Yeah.
I think it, you know, as they talk about like the AI engine and everything like that, one of the reviews I watched was like, oh yeah, of course they slapped AI on the box just to make it relevant in 2026 terms. But I think this is really starting to fuse the processing power of like what a cell phone could do computationally with several exposures, bracket stacking, depth mapping, and all that kind of into now an action series.
Yeah. But that being said, like, it's silly to me, the ILS. This is not an action camera now. I mean, I doubt there's any way there's waterproofing on this setup.
Yeah.
And it's not something, and that's not something you're going to throw inside a CNC machine.
No.
Because the lens probably costs more than the camera that you're working on it. And the biggest problem that I didn't notice till someone else pointed out, that there's no electronic connections on that thing for the lenses, meaning you don't have any actual aperture control of the lens. You can't, there's almost nothing you can drive through. I'm not really sure how this works without it talking to the camera. I mean, it's just effectively a dead lens. And the Micro Four Thirds package system, I don't know that there's that many like vintage lenses even designed for that. So I don't know what we're doing with this thing.
Let me share this. I think I could share this. So yeah, I mean, just looking at the threads that connects this, and like what you see, there's your red alignment dot and like your lock pins and all that. But like you said, no electronic connections that appear right now, at least as we know, anywhere on that body.
Yeah.
So,
and here's, I was telling Brent earlier, one of the problems with that is, so I use a Canon 70 to 200 on my Sony camera because I love the look of it. It's a beautiful lens, and one of those classic old lenses. And I have a dummy connector for my camera. I learned early on that if I had it on a Canon camera and set it and opened it up, and if I turned the Canon camera off, it shut down that aperture.
Yeah.
And then when I put it on my Sony, I was like, what's wrong? I don't understand. And there's no way to reopen that. So I'd have to put it back on a Canon body, open it back up, and then I would disconnect it while the camera was still on, and that would leave it wide open.
So you would actually set it on the Canon camera to your 2832 or 5.6, whatever, and then pop it off hot, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the problem. So the person who buys this camera, he goes, oh, I'm going to get some lenses for it. If you don't have a Micro Four Thirds camera with a way to set that, I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I had the Nikon fisheye lens forever, like a 10.5 crazy, one of the skateboard action sports lenses from the day. Definitely dating myself right now. But when Canon came out and I switched to Canon bodies, I took that lens with the cheap adapter in it. But the thing is, Nikons were spring locked for aperture. So as soon as you disconnect it, the aperture would just close because it had an internal spring to actually shut it back down to whatever the F number was in a 22 or something.
Right.
So little tinkering, just took a piece of postcard, folded it up nice, jammed it in there. So it stayed open at a 2.8, which was like, it worked awesome. Maybe it closed to like an F4 over time or something. But then when I switched to Sony, then it was the Sony adapter to the Canon adapter to the Nikon adapter. But like an absolute old, amazing lens that, again, it would stay open because I manually forced it open. So I could only imagine electronically closing and forcing that stuff. What is GoPro going to do if you don't have a fully manual, like cinema style lens where you can kind of adjust that?
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if does how many Micro Four Thirds cinema style lenses are available.
Yeah.
Like that's a very odd. I'm assuming they chose that system because that's probably the smallest barrel size, because that one already kind of starts to get in the way of the front facing screen.
Yeah.
So they must have selected that. I mean, they really should have gone with one of the wider ones, like a Sony or a Canon or a Nikon.
Is that,
but because
that's Panasonic, right? It has the typical mount that you would end up getting with that. Is that worth the Panasonic mounts? Okay.
Or were they Olympus? I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was Minolta, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't very widely used, in my opinion.
I'm excited to play with one once they're out and around, and be like, hey, let's do a 70 to 200 on this thing with an adapter and see what happens.
That would be interesting. Yeah. I'm mostly pretty confident I'll be getting that mid-range one, just depending again where that price point lies. So I would like to compare it to my DJI system. It's like I said, a compelling, and especially with everything that's going on with DJI, that I love them, but the government's trying to shut them down. So we're not going to talk politics today.
Yeah, time will tell. Yeah. I know.
But I might have to. I love this ecosystem, and that's something I've talked about before. Like, okay, Not sponsored, not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by DJI. I just like the system.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, to me, it's like a camera related to Apple. Like, it's that way. It's just so easy to integrate everything and cross-platform it. I just love the system, so I mean, I don't want to have to change, but
DJI really like kept going. I think with like the kind of taking the Ronin, my Movi that I had, the free fly, the giant ones, condensing that down into the Ronin style, and then even more to the Ronin stick style. And now the Pocket series, which is this action cam style, just with a gimbal head on it. So GoPro has been a little slower, I think, on the innovation trajectory, but like the action cams have always been pretty solid. The color looks amazing now with any of these little mini cameras compared to even 5-6 years ago. The highlights outside in daytime, bright blue skies with white snow was wild of like what you would end up getting in shadows. So like the Mission 1 Pro, we'll call it the middle of the line series, that's a 14 millimeter lens on there. So, and again, are you going to shoot 8K?
I'm not. No, but I'm curious because one of the cool things that DJI did, and no one's been able to explain the voodoo magic that they accomplished in it, but they have a 2-time lossless on the action cam and on the Pocket, where like you tap on it and like it genuinely, there doesn't seem to be any degradation in quality, and now it goes to a 40 millimeter. So I'd be curious if GoPro has something similar with an 8K sensor. Maybe they're able to punch, if you're in 4K, you could punch into a 50 millimeter or something like that.
Yeah, and like
in body. And
again with the newer generation sensors, the AI processing or whatever, like pixel size on these for low light, we'll kind of see what comes along with this 1-inch sensor version.
Well, I saw something too. I don't even know the math of this stuff, but it is a higher pixel density as well. 50
megapixel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, is that just the punch-in? Is that the punch-in trick where you're not losing anything at 24 megapixel?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. That's the funny thing too. Everybody says like, how do they have this release and not release it? They're expecting at least at NAB that will at least get pricing, but the camera doesn't come out till May. So is it even real? It's
a release fight with DJI, and then GoPro announces, and then DJI releases, and then GoPro announces and releases. Like, it's just a back and forth between.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. They're just trying to stay relevant.
Who can ruffle the media feathers and get us talking earlier?
Yes.
Then
yeah.
So it's just like trust the product as much as you want in these renders, and until you've got it in your hand and you're playing with it, and you know the answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Would you guys tell us what you think, in the comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this new release from GoPro.
Yep.
Next thing we want to talk about is SSD prices. Ooh. This one, I called Brent about it. He hadn't. See, it's not something you're even paying attention to until you're like, oh, I need a new one. And that's what happened to me. I usually get 2 terabyte SSDs because I have this thought process of like, that's the most I'm willing to lose. Yeah. I don't need to get bigger. Like, that's a good amount. I'll lose 4 months of work maybe, but it is what it is. So I usually get 2 terabyte. I think that was it used to be like $170 when I was getting them, and find them on sale sometimes for a little cheaper. So I went to go get one, and it was $369. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's nuts. So I started doing some research, and you've probably seen it now because a lot of YouTubers have been talking about it. It's part of the AI consumption. The data centers are a more profitable venture for these hard drive manufacturers than you and me, who buy a $100 hard drive or a $59 SD card. Because one of the announcements that came out this week is that Sony is suspending production of all SD cards in this move. So it's a serious problem.
It drives me crazy.
For people who this is what your business is. So I'm going to talk about my solution, and then Brent has been experimenting with a NAS solution. For me, I kind of was like, okay, there is no affordable solid state drive option for me. And that's like the best ones to work from when you're doing your editing. So they're fast. You can take them on set, not worry about them getting dropped or whatever. They're great. But I was like, well, what's going on with the old fashioned spinny drives, the magnetic drives? And those prices haven't changed at all. In fact, they may have gotten even cheaper. So I did some shopping around. I got a Western Digital, which I've always had good success with them, from Best Buy. And it was a 6 terabyte. I got it for $179. So then I just got that, set it up, and then I just started backing up. I got 4, because I had a couple 1 terabyte, 4 SSD drives now freed up. And I just have the spinning drive as a solution for archive. And if I want to get extra careful, I might get a second one and back that up and bring it to off location somewhere. Yeah. But it's a difficult one for us in this business because, like, look, I shot this for you. You have it. It's now on your website. Blah blah blah. I can't necessarily be expected to archive customer footage indefinitely. Like there's got to be a cutoff point. Now I have to this point. I have stacks of drives, but I don't know that that's practical or even necessary. Like they're not calling me for that. We'll just shoot new. Yeah.
How many times?
Brent, kind of talk about.
Yeah, how many times have you had clients call back and be like, "Hey, we want to revive that content we shot 10 years ago and reuse that in a new spot?" Like maybe one. Like for me, it was more of like, well, let's combine this just with like some post shoots to kind of repackage promotional, not like a re-edit or we need that exact version again. So it almost never does. You got to ask, be like, hey, do you want archival services?
That's true. You put that in the contract. I will buy an SSD drive and I'll keep that archive for you. But I don't. It's and I've had maybe one, like you said, but even then, like 10 years, most businesses have had a turnover anyway. They're like, oh, that guy doesn't work here anymore. That person doesn't work here anymore. So you got to reshoot anyway. Yeah. Brent was playing with a NAS solution. Yeah. Explain what you were doing there.
So, I was on the spinny drives forever. I think I got like 30 of them or so. Still currently, and then kind of from there it went to, those were the archive versions. And then I had my solid state SSDs as kind of the capture on the back of the camera or back of the monitor. So capturing direct like that. Plug that into a tray and then use a secondary one as the offsite active editing, and then backing up with Dropbox. Fast forward a couple of years, that the globe has twisted, and I am now on a 20 terabyte Dropbox plan, which it's like I loved it I do love it just for the instant access, the phone app. I mean, I can get anything from family pictures, so it's personal and mixed with business too. But like the content is instantly there. Right click and say online only in Finder on the Mac, and it's off the machine. So, I actually was in Scotland a few weeks back shooting a wedding, taking real estate projects with me, editing video. So, and any project now is, I'm walking out of a house or a shoot and I'm near 60 to 100 gigs, where go back 10 years, your maximum card size, you're like, oh, I shot 2 gigs today. Like, it's never that way anymore. So we're always needing more space, it seems, especially on the phones and that these days, with how much the ladies shoot, we shoot. I mean, it's just like there's pictures, thousands and thousands. So the NAS solution kind of came as far as like, all right, let me bring it back home on site. And that way it's accessible for what I need. The speed is still there. So I set up like a 10 gigabit, little faster in-home internet connection. But then still utilizing Dropbox for the offsite accessible version of it, if needed, really. So I'd put certain things. So I think I'm up to like 50 active terabytes with the NAS, 20 terabytes with Dropbox, and then the spinny drives, there's too many of them. But as we're talking prices, I did pull some pricing just to kind of like compare the March of 2024, I bought a SanDisk, one of like the little size. Do I have it down here?
Yeah.
No. I paid $279 for it.
What size?
So this is a 4 terabyte, the
4
NVMe like high speed version. So like you can move some serious gigs quick over USB-C. So it was kind of pair that with one of the Mac, the M1 Pro or whatever. Like it'll move content quickly as long as your little SD cards can do that. But I had to look it up after you mentioned that to me a few days back, and I was like, what is this really priced at now? Right now, Best Buy, $799.
It's just so cost prohibitive. It's insane.
Same thing. Like 2 years later.
Yeah.
The TV on the wall, that is half as much. That 65 was twice as much back then as it is now. And like this memory stuff, it's wild. I can't believe it. It's so like little SD cards, like you're saying. I had bought 2 of the Lexer 128 gig high-speed SSDs for the Sony A7 IVs, and I think I spent $50.99. This is June of last year, so June 25. $50, and currently on sale the same exact thing, $130.
Yeah,
and
we're going to see that happening. So the first thing, please don't become a storage scalper.
Yeah.
You're only going to contribute to the problem. But suddenly you need to treat these SD cards and your hard drives like they're gold. Take care of them.
Yeah, I know.
Proper management. Keep them in their cases.
Spin them up every once in a blue moon, and like set alarms on your phone. Be like, you need to plug in your hard drive again and access.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, I set up a Google Drive dock. And I put stickers on every single drive, so that way I know Drive 15 has client A through Z or A through K, and from these dates, and like try to organize the madness. At least, if my wife needed to try to find something, she could be like, "Oh, it's on this drive, on this wall, over here," and it's crazy. So.
Well, and the AI boom that's happening is only going to make this worse. And they're saying that manufacturers are not going to be able to either catch up or are maybe hesitant to jump into it because they had overproduced a couple of years ago and there was a glut and the prices came down. So they're kind of waiting to see what this looks like before they start, if that's going to settle down, I guess, or scale back before they decide, okay, we'll ramp up the production for consumer products again. Yeah. Because so the speculation is that probably through 2027 this will be an issue.
Yeah, a couple things I was kind of like digging into with business journals and stuff like that. With that, they're saying they're hoping that come later this year, either Q3, Q4, is that some of the overall market prices for solid state memory will come down a bit more. But like always, time will tell. And who needs what? Because that AI, we need it now. Everybody's racing to build bigger and badder and better. And do you notice anything? Like, is the internet faster for you because you're accessing all this new information?
No, and the AI has a lot of what do you want to call? I think unintended casualties that are occurring as a result of it, especially if you have one of these data farms, in your neighborhood. If you have that happening, what's going on. Like your electric bill triples, quadruples, and I think that's really unfair to the consumer. That this data okay. So city of whatever, you got the tax benefit of this data center being here. Everybody's benefiting. They should pay the bill. If they're consuming more electric, it's not my fault. For the person who like my dad, who like once a week makes a funny video of himself dancing, that's not what's causing the AI problem. No. It's being used up at a corporate level. The guys who are, buying the tokens to be able to just go mad with AI, and it's not your everyday consumer who's going to Chat GPT to go, hey, what should I make for dinner tonight?
Yeah. and I mean, they're all charging subscriptions. I mean, for any kind of like, more in-depth stuff. Think of like when these old streaming platforms started. Like they got you in there at the $7.99 a month, and most of these AI platforms are starting at $20 a month. So it's not like they're all necessarily broke for cash, but they're developing quickly, and I think this subscription rate for AI crap is only going to even just shoot to the moon quicker.
Yeah. Well, and that's the funny part too. Like, our friends Matt and Adam, they are heavy in post-production, and they do a lot of work for large corporate entities like Nike and stuff like that. Yeah. They keep running into. I was talking to Matt, and he's like, "Yeah, it's crazy because the client will come and be like, we need you to adjust it this way and adjust it that way." And the problem is people think AI works like a piece of clay, and you can shape it into a ball and like, oh, I can smooth it here and smooth it here. You can't. It's not like that. It breaks every time you try to change it. And he said they'll spend thousands of dollars trying to tweak it after they've gotten to a point. And it's like, if you just shot it with a camera.
If you properly, if it was properly modeled, and then we could, But I see that consistently with pretty much everything I do too, as far as like on any of the real estate trendy stuff now. It's just like, once you've made new changes and like as you keep going, like you can't get out of that hole with that clip or that image back to kind of where you were. It doesn't have that non-destructive editing. Most of the platforms don't. I'm sure they're kind of getting into that, but. And maybe Blackmagic's version 21 that supposedly is coming out soon with all sorts of new AI stuff is that if the node allows you AI edits along the way that you can back out of, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. I was trying to do something for like an Instagram thing for the gym I was going to. And I wanted this very specific picture of a gorilla growling into the screen. And it took me a few times to get it to where like I got it just right. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I went, oh, man, darn it. I really want that to be vertical. The only change I asked, I said, take the exact same video and make it vertical. Broke it. I was like, no. I like that gorilla. It's so frustrating to work with.
It's amazing of what it's come. I mean, because we weren't able to do this a year ago, really, of like how quickly it's come. So...
For sure.
But now as we're learning prompting, like, okay, we understand how to ask it the correct prompt or close to with like, do like this ratio, screen ratio, this resolution. And it still is like, no.
Well, and the elemental problem, we're not going to spend too much time on AI here, but the elemental problem is, and somebody really broke it down really cool, AI really is nothing more than a very advanced search engine. When you ask it stuff, it searches the web and compiles something based on your request, your prompt. But they said that the interesting thing about it was we tested it by asking it a simple question. No problem. We kept asking harder questions, and it was doing okay up the chain. And then when the questions got very complicated and would require thought, it broke it. It couldn't problem solve. Because that's the difference between a human and AI. The AI is getting information and using that as a resource, whereas a human can do creative thought and think themselves out of a box. I mean, a smart person, not me maybe, but a smart person could think their way out of the box, and AI can't do that.
Yeah. Speaking of kind of like, what it is just a search engine, like you said. So the wife and I, we were in Scotland, and we went up to the train viaduct bridge, which is up in near Fort William. That's up kind of northwestern Scotland, and it's kind of one of the scenes from the Harry Potter movies where this big old 100-year-old bridge kind of goes over a valley. And I had the Meta Ray-Ban glasses on, and I said, I asked it, "What do you see?" and the prompt that kicked back, I mean, incredible prompt as far as like with what it describes. I copied that text out, and I mean, you could paint a picture. I went and pasted that into Google to create an image. So it came from Meta's platform, took the text, pasted that into Google's image. And I mean, it was almost the identical image. It was kind of, I was like, wait, did it go through my Google Photos, reference the image that it saw and rebuilt? It was bizarre. But I mean, like, because it knew what it looks like, thousands of people have taken that same exact picture and posted that online. So it had a good variation of where to start. I'm assuming how this all connects the dots.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's just smart. It's now recognizing what we've been recognizing forever.
Yeah. It's very good at that. That's the part that's interesting about it. The funny thing though is too that if you've spent time playing around with AI, the thing I've noticed is you can start seeing which YouTubers are using AI to write their scripts.
Yeah. Because
it has a certain way of talking and using phrases, and it's kind of repetitive, and you start going like, oh, I know where that came from. Yeah. I've heard 3 other people say almost the exact same thing.
That's it.
You know, and so that's one of the things that I have been working on specifically with my YouTube account is that I don't even write a script anymore. I have like bullet points, and I just riff because I want it to sound like me and not like, I don't want to ever come across like it's scripted per se.
Yeah, I mean, like there's definitely advantages, and at the same time, like on the real estate side, when I see agents writing scripts for videos or agents writing scripts for like your Zillow listing, like you see that, like you're saying, like a couple of those extra words in there and the placement or the emojis that it likes to just puke all over the place.
It loves those emojis, man.
It does. So, I'm curious though, if like stuff like that gets pasted into video descriptions on YouTube, does YouTube start flagging that because it's like, well, they're using AI writing tools for descriptions? Is that starting to go into their flagging process as well?
I'd be curious because I'm happy that they're doing it, but it's a dangerous thing when you're a real creator and you get flagged. So we can talk about that. I have a video about that on my channel as well. Okay, we're going to move on to the last topic we're going to talk about today because I don't know, I'm finding this to be a very interesting time and a golden age. And I know the exceptionalists will take great umbrage with this, but let's just start back with, I want to talk about Chinese manufacturing culture. They have created maybe the world's best system. I mean, the people are working for pennies. Let's get it right. And there are no copyright laws in China, but they have gotten the best system of figuring out how to, you give them a thing, they take it apart. They know how to manufacture all the bits, reassemble it, and give you something just as good for pennies on the dollar. And one of my other passions, watch collecting, that happens. You can get, and I do not endorse this, you can get a copy Rolex that even a watchmaker will have a difficult time telling the difference, even taking it apart and looking at the movement. Because you can get a Rolex for you'll have to spend like $600 or $700, but for all intents and purposes, matches the $10,000 Rolex, which is insane. Yeah. It's not great. Like if you can't afford a Rolex, there are great watches at $500 or less that are just as neat and interesting. It doesn't always have to be a flex. Anyway, this is a camera show. Yes. What I'm fascinated by, I don't know if you've noticed it, there has been just a glut of really cool lenses coming out all of a sudden. There's some manufacturers. One is called Blazar, Blazar. Matty Hapoya has their lenses. A Chinese branded company. You can get an autofocus cinema anamorphic lens from them for like $1,000. And I'm saying this is a lens that would probably cost, what do you think, Brent? $50,000 back in the day on a movie set. Like we would not be able to buy them.
Like a cinema lens. Yeah. It's a rental kit versus an owning kit.
Can you bring those up on your computer?
Which
Blazar, Blazar. That's just the one that's really got my interest. Then I'll talk about the cheap ones that I have bought recently.
The Cineas.
Very pleasantly surprised. Yeah. The pricing's awesome.
Which series?
They're good looking lenses. I can't remember. Like it's a silver body.
Okay. I'm trying to think that green. Which the Viper is
the
maybe
Viper.
Newer ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bring these up.
They're it's incredible what you're able to get now for $1,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Like what's the price point on those? I can't even read it from here.
So
but
you've got the 35 like $10.99, and then their kit
Yeah.
for all three 30, 50, 75 for just under $3,000.
Yeah, I mean that is unbelievable pricing
Yeah.
for like I said, a lens that would have not even be something that you could get now. Now you like an indie filmmaker. I feel like if you got the 35, you could shoot your whole film on that. You'll have to move. You'll have to go back and forth. You're not going to be able to zoom in on things. You'll have to bring the camera a bit physically forward. But
Yeah.
for $10.99, you've got a cinema lens.
It's amazing,
It's-
isn't it?
Yeah, we're in incredible territory. And so recently I just bought the Surui. It's Sirui is the name of it. I think it's called, I think you say Surui. I got the manual focus one. I think it's an anamorphic. It's down, I think it goes a T 2.0, I think. And it's like, it was $229.
Wow.
Like really cool, really cool blue lens flares, like the whole bit. And you're like, I'm going to do a review of it on my channel. I just haven't had a chance to work with it yet. But I was like, this is a very cool option. Then I was like, well, let me look at something else. So there's this brand called, I think it's Mieke, Mieke, or Mikey, another Chinese company. I needed a 30 millimeter, and they have a 30 millimeter 2.0, and I don't think it was more than $200. I want to say it was like $170. And I used it on a shoot just this week because it was an interior and it was like a corporate event. The center of that picture is crispy, sharp. I was like, this is a beautiful image coming out of this inexpensive lens.
Which one do you have?
And I just, the 30 millimeter 2.0, I think.
And then is that the full frame? Or those aren't full
No.
frame. Those are the 35s.
No. Yeah.
Oh.
And then I just yesterday purchased, because I was at that shoot, I was like, 30 on APS-C is still a little tight. Like I had to keep getting back. So I just ordered a 15. And it's not fisheye. 1.7. That's the thing. You get these weird aperture numbers with these.
Yeah, SRT stops, which that separates the cinema versus your standard photo style.
Well, I think this is just a photo lens at 1.7. I don't know. It's their Air series. I think it was $225. And I mean, this one, when I started looking around on YouTube, this thing has been reviewed by everybody as like, this is just a phenomenal lens at this price point. Again, I'm going to do a review of each of these, but
okay, photo lens. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
like, those are all electronic then. So you have autofocus with them too, right?
autofocus.
Yeah.
Snappy autofocus on that Mieke.
Yeah.
Snappy, like as fast as the Sony.
And everybody comes out with these review videos of like, putting boards up and charts up to like check, focus and accuracy, and then the drop off over on the sides and the corners. And it's amazing like that these lenses are achieving what they are, especially at that price point. And I can't help but like, man, there's tons of options that we now have access to.
Oh, yeah. I need another box for my lenses now.
Yeah.
I just got one in the mail today that I bought on a complete whim, just because I thought it's interesting. It was an Instagram impulse purchase. Matt hit me up. He's like, "Have you seen this?" And I was like, "I have. I have. I've been trying to." It was only $48. It's a repurposed lens from a what do they call the disposable cameras?
Oh, okay.
That snaps onto my Sony body, and you get all the character of that disposable lens. So it'd be great for like a family night or hanging out with friends. Nothing to worry about.
Okay.
Very small. It's like a pancake lens. I don't think it sticks out farther than the hand grip.
Oh wow.
And so it's just like this perfect little carry, and get some fun snapshots with friends that have that, for lack of a better word, that romance of
Yep.
of the 90s.
Yeah, so you've seen that the digital throwback to the crank
Yeah.
instant cam style thing that I have. I think it's a flash. I think Flashpoint. I don't know what flashback. I think is the name of it. Anyway, but I'll give the 3-year-old the camera, and she runs around, and it's so funny to see the perspective of the kids. Just like everything's pointed up. Everything's pointed up. Your chin. But now with those little lenses, and I have like my the Zeiss 35, which is a tiny little. It's not a pancake like some of the smaller ones are getting into now, but she'll walk around, 3 years old, full frame Sony body with this lens on it, taking amazing pictures. I'll set it to auto or even just like shutter control or something like that. And like they're so small, and yes, getting that vintage look too with some of these new filters on them. Like I got so my quick camera, like this is a Cine Bloom diffusion filter from Moment Lenses. I think this is the 10%. But I got a kit of these, man, and like these are awesome in Scotland just for like general scenic shots. And I still shot it raw, but it adds a little bit right away that I'm like, it's okay, it's close enough.
It gives it character. That's the thing that and again, kind of like I'm kind of. The problem with the camera industry is we just keep going further and further, megapixel. And it's like, but we love the look of these old films. So we get all this work and then I got to throw it in Lightroom to destroy it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I don't mind some character, I have some vintage lenses that I bought to go on my camera as well. Cause they just look so cool.
Yeah.
There's warmth to them.
A lot of my wedding pictures now, just, like I'm adding grain back into them, just like a little bit of texture, a little bit of grain, also with some of the skin smoothing and that. But like that very happy medium now that we can kind of achieve for a clean yet still current look. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of those the plugins that you can get in Lightroom, and I've been doing a whole black and white series. I really love black and white. But then, I grain them up, add noise, do all this stuff because I want it to look like the goal of this series is I want it to look like editorial photography from like the 70s.
Yeah.
I want that look. I always love like those shots of like bands on stage. It just were a little gritty and grungy. It's that looks more like art to me than like this perfect, pristine, perfectly colored. I can see every eyelash.
A little slower shutter drag on it, where you get a little bit of blur and motion action to it. Yeah, for sure. So
I dig that look.
Yeah. So Lightroom, I mean, I'm still a hard Lightroom Classic user for the desktop. That is 90% of everything I'll run through edit wise for final edits, and then Capture One I use typically for tethered sessions, and then roll them into Lightroom. But yeah, it's learning a lot of editing controls and that stuff, and then also you're diving into Lightroom too more.
Oh yeah, I used to be a Photoshop guy. I didn't do Lightroom. I was just like, well, I just use Photoshop, but there's just something better about the Lightroom interface, and maybe it's because it's simplified. The way I love taking the raw photos in there, but instead of in Premiere or in Photoshop. The one tool I use on every single photo now for client work is the denoise.
Yeah.
It takes about a minute every time, so I'm spending hours just denoising, but there's something about that digital noise that you're like, ugh, that denoise feature on there is unbelievable. I just love the look of the images when they get done. They're so clean, and this like their skin gets smoother. It's almost like using the that mist filter.
Yeah,
there's just something. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, breaking away from the clean digital that and like MKBHD, he posted on his YouTube channel a couple weeks ago, like taking your iPhone 17 Pro or your Samsung Galaxy 25 Ultra, and then kind of comparing them per year going backwards and seeing
Yeah.
that picture change. And you're realizing, it's no longer just a clean photo. It's a highly processed, like backgrounds are lit, shadows are brought up, and it almost looks a little too HDR nowadays with like,
Yeah.
we need more of that. Just like it's dark, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's like grainy shadows. And, yeah, a lot of that stuff where you'd hit, like a phone 5 years ago and you're like, I think that really one did look the best straight out of the phone. And now there's so much data behind each picture. It's wild. You don't lose anything.
Yeah. And I like grain. It's just, I don't like digital noise. That was not something we ever had in film.
Yep.
You'd have grain, and maybe something soft focus, but never that weird chromatic digital noise. That's so, you were like, that's a digital camera. You can pick it out right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Brent, thanks for coming along.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me out. It's awesome talking tech.
Yeah, definitely fun talking tech.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can join me next week.
Yeah.
I'm getting a commitment now, everybody.
We're gonna overcrank this.
That's right. So again, thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Have a great week, y'all.